unpacking today's headlines. This is Souls and Liberty in Depth.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to In Depth, the production of Souls and Liberty, brought to you by MyPillow.com. The good folks at MyPillow have an incredible spring sale going on right now with super savings, as you can see. And a little later in the show, we're going to show you how you can get even greater cuts in prices because you're watching Souls and Liberty. But first, joining us today is none other than MyPillow genius, Mike Lindell himself. Mike, thanks very much for coming on. We greatly appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Look, there's quite a few things to talk about today, Mike, including some crazy sales that you have going on. We're going to get into all that in a little bit. But first, I want to hear about a couple of other things, if you don't mind. Getting your thoughts on, well, let's call it sort of the state of the nation. You know, things have never really been like this in America the way they've been before. You, of course, had your finger on the pulse of all the national mood, temperature, and all that stuff for a while. How do you personally view what's going on right now on the cultural landscape?
Well, it's just this week for me, personally, the biggest breakthrough we've had in years. And that was when the president just signed the executive order for our election platforms. You have to have ID. What a concept that you're actually a citizen. He put in there that the paper ballots cannot have QR codes or barcodes, things like this, everybody. You all know I've been fighting for 4 years, 18 hours a day to secure our elections. Just because my great friend and president won doesn't mean they stole down tickets and stuff during this election. And you guys all know I've been fighting for the paper ballots and counting. My team's on the ground. There's over 300,000 in all 50 states. We're ecstatic because we're able to go in now and finish what we started 4 years ago. So, and I think right now, you can't imagine. When I talked to the president last summer and we were talking about, he was telling me how hard it was going to be. Man, they're just ruining the country. And I said, sir, God uses all things for good. And I said, all these bad things happening, I said, people are pouring into this new bucket of common sense. This is a new party. It's the common sense party, everybody. And it shows that, and all the stuff that he's gotten done in this short period of time, this makes common sense. This makes common sense. If you talk to people, even it doesn't matter what party they're in, the actual people, everybody is united. This is a united thing because they were doing stuff that was so off the wall crazy, men and women sports and transvestites running around. I mean, it was crazy. And fentanyl pouring in, let's open up the borders and kill everybody. It was so off the wall nuts that if you're a person, none of that stuff helped anybody. And when you have an agenda, when you're in politics and you make decisions that don't help anybody, you have a hidden agenda. And it was so evil that right now, I mean, this country's coming together. I've said it many times. Everybody loves our president. Some just don't know it yet, but they're learning every day, pouring into this bucket.
That's for, and you're touching on God there. I think most people would admit there seems to be a resurgence, if maybe not perhaps directly religious practice, although that seems to be happening on some level as well, but at least a sort of a growing recognition of natural law, or to your point, what President Trump keeps calling common sense. Would you agree with that assessment as far as across the country? Obviously, some people are very resistant to this, but in general, are people waking up more to this? And if you think they are, why? That's the bigger question. Why do you think they are?
The last, I also in that same meeting with the president, I talk to him all the time, but this was last summer, and we were talking, and I was also telling him, I said, this bucket, they're pouring into this bucket of common sense, but I told him there's another bucket going on, and that's Jesus Christ, God, in this bucket. I said, we're in the biggest revival for Jesus Christ in history. I told him that. I said, people don't look to God when things are going good. Usually it's when things are going bad. So all the last 4 years, people poured into this bucket. They're praying, they're doing everything, and I actually told the president, I said, he goes, but Mike, all these bad things, it's going to take so long to fix, can we do it in 4 years? And And I said, sir, with God, all things are possible. And
Amen.
him working through you, you'll get it done faster and better than ever. Right now, people are witnessing these miracles. These are miracles, everybody, that we gone through all this stuff for 4 years, and you're seeing the miracle even of the election. You know, everybody knows that our election platforms are set up to steal, and that was a miracle there. And now I told him just the other day, I was with them in the Oval Office, and I said, we can't let these next 4 years be in vain.
Right.
And that's why we're fighting. You know, he comes out with this executive order to secure our election platform. We have the worst elections in the world. 132 countries have banned electronic voting machines. Over 100 countries have banned early voting and mail-in voting. And everybody wants, people, doesn't matter what party you're in, wants secure elections. And that's where we're at. But as far as, I think people were so much in fear of everything that was going on the last 4 years that their prayers are getting answered. And I said, you just have this great revival. And people, you look back, everybody, and you see all these things that happen. And if you're in prayer, if anybody out there is in prayer, oh, my prayers didn't come true. I said, it might not be God's will or God's timing.
Right.
And I always tell people, well, where is God's will? God's will is in the Word. You stay in the Word, and like I do every day in the Bible, and your prayers proactive. You can be proactive in prayer, and you just get a peace. Hey, we're living in the best times ever to be alive. This is amazing, everybody.
Yeah, it's really it's eye-popping. I've been in news and covering news for more than 40 years as a reporter and all of that, and I've never seen anything like this. I mean, you're constantly left speechless on how to describe it. But I want to ask one more question before we get to what you've got going on in the great sales world there, because it's some really cool stuff. But we got a really good friend, Mark Mitchell, over at Rasmussen Reports, and he recently produced some eye-popping poll numbers a couple of weeks back. And his results were interviewing on him, and he just sort of dropped it like nonchalant. And I'm like, wait, Mark, back up. What did you just say? And he said, according to their polling numbers at Rasmussen, which is one of the like very top tier, correct everything.
They're the best.
31% of Americans, that's the largest plurality, viewed the Democratic Party as the number one threat to America. It got the largest single response. And Mark told us he'd asked about the economy and the illegal immigration and inflation and drugs, all the regular stuff. And the Democratic Party is viewed by 31% of Americans as the number one threat to America. Just your own personal opinion, what would you say is the greatest threat to Trump and MAGA's counter-revolution that we have right now?
I personally believe you don't have the Democrat and Republican Party of old anymore. That left a long time ago. Yeah. What we have now is this new party of common sense. And the other thing to fear is the UniParty. This one stole our country. This UniParty, because there's horrible UniParty Republicans out there that blocked us. This goes back to the Clintons. You've seen the Clintons and the Bushes and the Obamas all together like this little club, these deep state globalists. This goes way further than a Democrat party. That's the biggest threat ever. This is a battle of evil and good beyond. This is historical proportion. Yeah. This isn't just a political thing anymore. This goes way beyond that. That is the biggest threat, not only to our nation, but to the world. And we are in the times where we are going to break through that, and we have. And you're going to see as we these next few years, as we get into it here, hopefully we can eliminate the evil once and for all, and that's where we're at. So call it the Democrat Party. That's fine. But it goes much deeper than just that name, and that's what's come out of this. And they tried to take our country. I've told everybody, if Donald Trump, I always look at it from a marketing perspective, if they would have put him back in December of 2020, we would have lost our country forever, everybody. It would be gone. The world would be gone. And here's why. Over the last 4 years, we learned so much. I mean, my team's on the ground. We've learned so much. We know where the bad and the evil is. We also learned, it showed the whole country, hey, you know what? you better have elections and not selections, because look what evil can do in a short period of time.
Right.
In 4 years, the destruction of our country was unprecedented. And so I have a lot of hope it's going to be pretty amazing. And it's going to be awesome, everybody.
Yeah, it's certainly shaping up that way. And I don't think anybody can really sit around and think in terms of, hey, we won the election, everything's cool, now we can go back to our lives. I mean, you can't transition from evil like that. There has to be
they're just regrouping, and we've got to secure our election platforms. Everybody, you can learn that, everybody, too, at lindellplan.com. I have everything there. My election crime, everything's there. That's lindellplan.com. You guys can check it out. You can learn every day what's going on, because if you have secure elections, people will elect things that help the people. You're supposed to elect people that help the people. They're elected for the people, not for purposes to destroy the people.
Exactly. Mike, fantastic, as usual. Who would expect no less. The bar starts for you all the way up here, Mike. So you can't ever slip down a little bit and still be just better than other people. You've got a big bar up there. So, but what does all this do? I'm going to give you the most ridiculous segue here ever. People want to be able to, secure the country and then sleep peacefully at night, which you are in the business of helping produce.
Right.
You got some good things going on there at MyPillow. Just break in. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, well, you guys, it just happened again. MyPillow is the most attacked company in world history ever in the last 4 years. I thought it would end when our great president got elected there, but it hasn't. They turned up the attacks. Yep. The box stores that came back just a week and a half ago canceled their orders. Maybe it's when it ties in with the president drew that great executive order for the election platform. So what have we done? We had all these sheets, our famous sheets, the Gaze of Dream sheets, the Percale sheets. All these were allotted. These were allotted for box stores. And now we have them. I said, you know what? I'm tired, but we're going to pass the savings on to you, are the people that have supported us and made it and helped my employee-owned company. So, for example, the Percale Dream or the Percale sheets, queen size, normally $89.98. You're going to pay what the box stores would have paid, $29.98.
That's insane. King that's like size, a 75% cut.
Yeah, king size, $34.98. And what you need to get this, everybody, you need to go to the website and scroll down till you see a picture of me. It'll say radio podcast specials. Click on that. You're going to see specials you've never seen before. These wholesale prices, even the crosses that I wear will be 30% off. We got made in the USA. We have these pillows here that with God, all things are possible. The MyPillow 2.0, ready for everybody? Wholesale price $9.98. And use that promo code, Souls and Liberty. Everybody use that. Use it today. Use it right now. I'm going to give you a number to call too, 800-934-6616. Tell them Souls and Liberty promo code, and you're going to get the sheet special, the crosses, the $9.98 pillows, and you can everything else that we carry at MyPillow. With that promo code, you will get that on sale. And by the way, my home reps were attacked by the IRS. They're telling them they couldn't work from home anymore. And we beat that, everybody. Yep. So give them a call, 800-934-6616. Promo code Souls and Liberty. Get those sheets, $29.98 for queen size, 14 different colors, $34.98 for king size. The lowest prices in the history of MyPillow.
I can say, first of all, with the pillows, I got MyPillows, gosh, I don't know, king size pillows probably, 5-6 years ago or something. I can tell you that my husky, I have a dog, husky, his name's Rebel. There's kind of a little bit of a fight because he jumps up in the middle of the night and wants to lay on the pillows. I'm like, get off my pillows.
and there's a good point. That's why we added our dog pillows about, I don't know how many years ago. They are the best. And you guys realize we have 10-year warranties on all our products and 60-day money-back guarantee. Yep. You got a dog. He won't take your bed pillow. You better get him a dog pillow. and they're washable and dryable. Think of this. When I invented MyPillow, you couldn't wash and dry pillows. You just throw the pillow in the washer and dryer. Same way with the dog pillow. It comes out beautiful. 10-year warranty. They're the lowest price in history of MyPillow. When we got canceled by all the box stores, we just said, you know what? We're going to take those savings and fight back and give the savings to the people that support us through the hardest times of any company in history. Yep. They just keep coming at MyPillow. This is the Attorney General of Minnesota. Last week, he served me papers going after my recovery network for addicts. And it's just disgusting. They don't want me out there talking about our elections, period.
Yeah, I'd said to you before, off camera, just before we came on and got, broadcasting here, and I'll say it with everybody listening. I have listened to many of your speeches just as a person. I've listened to many of your speeches. I've followed lots of stuff in your, what's going on and how they were attacking you and the lawsuits and this and the IRS and the whole kind of deep state monster thing. I mean, just allow me to say, as I said to you off camera, say it on camera, hats off. It's an honor to be interviewing you. It's an honor to meet as much as you can meet somebody through the electronic media. You are you're just a model citizen, Mike, and I'm not blowing smoke. I'm not doing anything. I mean, when Dawn in your office said, hey, Mike could be available, I was like, heck yeah. And I think it's good for, by the way, you got great support people too. I've been dealing with them for the last week, all very wonderful, helpful, professional, everything.
Thank you.
But I would expect that because of course those cues come from the leader on down. But do you ever have, as sort of the, I guess you would say kind of like the MAGA businessman, or at least one of the models of it. Do you ever have I mean, how do you deal with that? I mean, when people are saying, hey, Mike, you're great. They're like laying wreaths at your feet and everything. I mean, it seems to me that you're just like the most humble, straight up dude there is.
Yeah. When I go around the U.S., I can be anywhere, the heart of Chicago. It doesn't matter. The people come up to me now for two reasons. They say, keep going, help save our country. Or they say, hey, my brother, whatever, read your book and went to your recovery network. I was an ex-crack cocaine addict, and by example, it's maybe it helped one of their family members get set free of that and find Jesus Christ. But when you ask me that, I'll tell you, I remember taking pictures this one day. I took 6,000 pictures at a rally once in Tampa. It was about 100 degrees out, and one after another. And here, this lady right at the end, bless her soul, she comes up. I came all this way to meet you. And she said, I know you're really tired. Can I do one more picture? I said, absolutely. I said, in the old days, the only one that wanted my picture were the cops. True story. So I know where I've come from. I've been in the streets. I've been everywhere from 0 Forks to 4 Forks and everywhere in between. And I will never forget where I came from and what we're fighting for and what God's got. We all have callings, and so no, it's not me that's gotten MyPillow through the attacks or myself. It's my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So, but
amen, Mike. I can testify on the comfort of the Giza sheets because I have them. Not just the pillows, but the Giza sheets as well. They're incredibly comfortable. Take 10 seconds and tell people they can't have there's no better deal they're going to get on these than right now.
That's our president's favorite product, are the sheets. And right now, this is what the box store canceled, everybody. So I'm going to announce the thing one more time. The percale queen size normally $89.98, $29.98. King size normally $99.98, $34.98. The Giza Dream Sheets are on sale for 50% off. And use promo code Souls and Liberty. Make sure when you get to the website, you scroll down till you see a picture of me and click right there on podcasts and radio specials, or call 800-934-6616. Use that promo code Souls and Liberty. You guys, I can't thank you enough for you guys' support and your support and everyone out there behind us. We couldn't have gotten through without the people out there supporting MyPillow. So I want to thank you all, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Mike. God bless you too. Much appreciate you for coming on. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
All right. Our next topic is the demise of the Democrats, with one of the country's leading political analysts who says it's actually worse for them than you're hearing. But just before we get to all of that, as promised, those even more incredible savings at MyPillow for our loyal Souls and Liberty viewers. If you go to the MyPillow.com website, as Mike just said, you'll see a space right there near the top where it says get even lower prices. And there is where you enter the promo code. That blue line right there, that little white box, you just type in there, enter the promo code. And the promo code is Souls and Liberty, all one word, Souls and Liberty. And when you make your final purchase, you'll get the discount for being a loyal viewer. Again, Mike Lindell does a great job of being both a good businessman, selling great quality merchandise, as well as being a patriot that we should support. He's gone through an awful lot at the hands of the whole deep state. Of course, President Trump got more of the attention and the lawfare and all that, but Mike's been put through the ringer too. So that spring sale with an even deeper discount, be sure and visit mypillow.com. All right, welcome back. And joining us now to give last rites to the communist Democrats is Jim Ellis of Ellis Insights. Hey, Jim, how are you, man? Let's get right to it.
Gary, great to be back on. It was wonderful listening to you and Mike here for the previous set, and he is truly an American hero. So
yeah,
thanks for having me on with him today.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, look, your father, Jim Ellis, who's brought all of your anointing oils for the Democratic Party and your exorcism prayers and all of that. Just before we get going here, you wrote an article and we published it here on Souls and Liberty. It might just kind of be somewhat prophetic. You talk about what it's looking like, this great political realignment that we have not seen in a long while. You actually call it historic, in fact. Here's a picture of the article here from 2016 to 20. Let me ask you before we get to some of sort of the historic numbers and things, but just, you see, and you've been in this, so people know you've been in this for a very long time. And
a very long time. Yeah.
Very long time.
Longer than I admit to as well.
Well, that's okay. I mean, you're very wise for being 32. Do you, why do you cast this as a historic realignment or a historic movement? I mean, that's quite a deal.
And the reason is, if you look back through political history, about every 50 years, we see changes, significant changes, where the country begins to realign. And people vote differently, or groups of people vote differently than they were. And I believe that is happening now. Now, we'll know for sure when we see the election of 2026, and more specifically 2028, if this is going to be a permanent situation or is this an anomaly. But if you go back 50 years, it's the Jimmy Carter election versus Gerald Ford. And that map is extremely interesting because it is of the map that Carter won on with the states. It is almost absolutely reversed as to what we see today on the latest Trump victory. And by that, I mean, Jimmy Carter carried all of the southern states. And now we see, and this has been the case for a while, where the Republican states are in the South. And so that the sort of the belt that goes from Texas all the way up through, up to Virginia, really, has become very solid Republican. Whereas in the past, it was solidly Democratic. And that is a huge change. But I'll tell you the bigger changes. And I bet people will be astonished to learn, anybody that follows politics today will be surprised that Gerald Ford carried the whole Pacific coast.
Right.
He carried California, Washington, and Oregon. And in addition, carried the New England states, the upper New England states, Vermont, home of Bernie Sanders, New Hampshire, and Maine all went for Gerald Ford in that election. And that had been that really was a normal set of voting at that particular time. And now today it is absolutely completely opposite. So the whole left coast, as you would call it, is on the ideological left, with California, Oregon, and Washington now being among the safest and most reliable Democratic states in the whole country, as are Vermont, that is one of the most Democratic states in the country as well. So New Hampshire and Maine now look like they're getting more into the swing category. But it is, and if you go back 50 years before that, it was different, and on and on. And that's where I think we see some change happening now, not just geographically, but I think what we're going to talk about in a few minutes here about different subsets of people, the segments voting differently. By that we mean, in particular, what we saw in this election, the African-American vote was better for Trump. The Hispanic vote was much better for Trump than any other Republican.
Yeah, well, we've done some breakdown numbers on that. Let's actually talk about the Hispanic. I think we have a graphic to kind of demonstrate this, and we've called it the shifting Hispanic vote. And what's interesting is when you compare the number of how Trump did with the Hispanic vote in 2016 versus 2024. So that's, obviously Trump versus Hillary, then Trump versus Biden, and now Trump versus Harris. I mean, look at those numbers there. That Hispanic vote has moved 17 points. I mean, it's almost 20%, 17 points to the right. And all three categories, when they do these polls and everything, all three categories of liberal, moderate, and conservative, all of those breakdowns within the Hispanic voting population, which is about 13% of the country. All three of them, even the liberals, moved to the right. The largest group moving to the right was the moderate Hispanics. That was 23 points. I mean, look at that. That's astronomical. From just 2 presidential election cycles to make that much of a shift. And of course the Hispanic vote is sort of scattered around different places in the U.S. It's not really watered down. In some states, it's a much greater presence. It's 13% of the whole national average, national total, but it's not, it's concentrated. So you start talking about some of these swing states and these battleground states and all of that, where there's a much larger influence, even right here in Texas. I mean, virtually every single border county, voted for Trump. Which was not the case 4 and 8 years ago. So what do you think?
And much longer before that.
Yeah. What do you think's going on with that?
Well, I tell you, the Texas vote is a little different than the rest of the country. And the reason I say that is because polling had been done. It was a good friend of mine who runs a polling firm down in Texas told me this a couple of years ago. And we could see the shift beginning there. And it was actually beginning to be prevalent in the 2020 election with Biden and Trump, whereas Trump was actually won some of those counties at that point in time and held Biden below 52% in all of the counties that touched the border. And you would think, that's because of the border issue, and the legal Hispanics don't want the illegals coming in any more than anybody else.
Right.
That's only partially true. What was driving a lot of the Hispanic vote back towards the Republicans in South Texas was the attack on the energy situation.
Right.
The Green New Deal was death to jobs in that area.
Yes, it was.
And so a lot of it was economic driven based on energy issues. So the combination, I think, has begun to flip those counties to the Republicans. And I think that's different than other places because of of course, the Permian Basin in West Texas, which is the huge oil and gas producing area of the country, really. And that, of course, is centered in a lot of the Hispanic region of Texas. And a lot of that is prevalent there in terms of the switch towards Republicans that we see from the Hispanic community. But unlike the Black community, which tends to be pretty monolithic, that's not the case for Hispanics. And it really never has been. And Gary, it has always surprised me, and much more so today than ever before, as we see the Democrats consistently pandering to the African-American vote. And I'm thinking, why aren't they doing that more with Hispanics? Because that's the growth.
Right.
And where the Black population is barely remaining even, if not receding.
Right.
The Hispanic population is growing greatly, and it surprises me that are not they counting where they're going. I think it's a tremendous opportunity. But the bottom line here is, as we saw on these votes, with African Americans doing better, not a majority, but the Republicans don't need a majority.
Right.
The Hispanics were, about 50% is possible, it appears now. With the Asian community moving more towards the Republicans as well. Yep. This is a great opportunity. And the Republicans have the next couple of elections to really cement that and campaign in these areas and drive the message home to make the Republican/conservative/prosperity agenda more real for these people. This is a great opportunity for the Republicans, and let's make sure they don't blow it.
Yeah. Well, it's if there's a group you can sometimes count on for snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, it would be them, or snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Sorry. I do want to take a moment here and talk about the black vote also. As a whole, I mean, while the Hispanic vote, make sure I get my numbers right here, while the Hispanic vote over those 8 years from 2016 to 2024 shifted 17 points to the right, the black vote actually shifted to the right as well, not by as much of a great margin, but 4 points. That would have been unthinkable 2, 3, 5 election cycles ago. And if you look at, what was the driving force with the Hispanic vote making that huge move, it was 23 points among moderates. But here in the black vote, it's conservative blacks that actually voted 8 points and sort of led the charge of things changing there. And it's like, I don't, it seems for the most part that, you would think a conservative black was one of the rarest creatures around, if you listen to Obama and Clinton and all the rest of them and stuff. And yet there's something about Trump, MAGA, whatever, that's resonating there. Again, might not be as strong as in the Hispanic community, but the Hispanic community doesn't have the history that the black community has here in the United States politically. Why would you think there would be a movement within the black community towards Trump? All you do is, peeling off 4 points. That's a big deal. He didn't win the black vote, but he won enough of the black vote. And that's the difference. It's the margin of all of this. What's going on there?
It's all coming from one segment of the black population, and it's the young male.
Yep.
And Trump was well over 25% among them. And that's what's driving those 4 points. The rest, the black female, 0. And Trump has always done better with black men than black women. But particularly now, and what's driving it is the younger black male, who, as talking to some of them in these groups and everything, the reason is they want a piece of the deal too. It's economically driven, and they view that the Trump in particular, number one, he was campaigning to them, which has not happened from Republican candidates before. And I thought his message to them, him being the president, was exactly right on, saying, you may not like me, but you are going to be better off with me than Kamala. And I'll tell you the other thing that was a big negative with young black males. Obama going in and lecturing them that they have to vote for Kamala because she's black.
Whoa.
They did not like that from the ones I spoke to. These are just anecdotes, but it fit what we were seeing in the polling data.
Sure.
That they didn't like that. They want a piece of the deal. They want opportunity just like anybody else.
Yeah, he didn't even just.
Male,
I think it's important to point out that he didn't just say, "Hey, you got to vote for her because she's black." I mean, he certainly said that, although he's only half black, and so is she. But to tell them that the reason you aren't voting for her is because you're a misogynist. I mean, it's one thing to order people around in kind of a not polite way. It's another thing to incorporate into that order an insult. You just don't want to see a woman president. You're making up excuses in your mind, and you need to vote for her because she's black. I mean, I can't imagine that landed well at all.
No, it apparently did not. And again, it's really that younger black male that's driving this, and that's really hope for the future here for the Republicans. But it's an open door now. A door is open to crack. They've got to take advantage of this and begin to reach out to these folks and explain why the prosperity agenda includes them as well and will help them more than the authoritarian economics that the Democrats promulgate throughout their whole platform.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about the young men thing. You know, it's kind of clear that Dems are losing men in general, especially young men.
Yes.
In fact, you know, as we see reflected here, the younger you are, male or female, the more likely you are to be a member of Team Trump. We've got a graphic here. Only a few years ago, young people were sort of fiercely progressive, the most liberal generation since the baby boomers, if not ever. But now it's becoming increasingly clear, I would say, that Gen Z, those born between 1997 and 2012, are becoming the most conservative generation in decades. And let's put up a graph here so we can show people, you know, what's going on. I mean, look at this Trump support here. We did measured out 18-year-olds among 18-year-olds. So, you know, their first election, you know, they've gone through the whole education system and blah, 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 blah. And what do we see? We see 77% of 18-year-old males versus 54% of 18-year-old females went for Trump. That is a raging gap, 23 points. I mean, that's like an earthquake. And I want you to talk to that, and we're going to drop down to the 30-year-olds in a second here. But let's get your take on this 18-year-olds. What is going on? Aren't young people like crazy liberal and blah, blah, and all that?
Well, you know what? This is where the part of realignment that we were talking about. And I think this might be the heart of it. It's coming here. But let's think about it for a moment. Why would and what you're talking about there, those numbers, I think, are the young white 18-year-olds or 18 to 20s.
Right.
But think about it from the white man, the white male at that age. What have they been told for their whole life? That they're evil. The school they went to probably did critical race theory, which basically claimed that slavery and everything was just their fault. On and on and on. They are being really attacked by the system. And if you look at this whole transgender thing, now I've always thought this is designed to help further the emasculation of the male.
Sure.
That I think we see among, certainly throughout the NEA-driven education system.
Right.
And this is, I think, what they're beginning to rebel about. And so as the youth does tend to rebel when they get to that age, and all of a sudden they're going to rebel against this, authoritarian, left-wing, males are bad, white males are particularly bad, and the cause of all evil. And they've been hearing that throughout their whole educational life. They're beginning to rebel. And that's why I say great opportunity at the feet of the Republican Party here to go after this groups that they did not communicate with before, because they thought, we're never going to get these people's votes, so we're going to go after people that we can get.
Right.
But that's changing now. And I think maybe the more astonishing figure there, Gary, is the 54% of the young women.
I kind of looked at that. That caught me by surprise too. I mean, it's a giant number of support among 18-year-old white males, but
huge difference.
A majority of white 18-year-old females also voted for Trump.
And again, if you look at two of that 18-year-old group there, 18 to 20, you'll see that just about 50% of the black of the people of color, it was called people of color males. So that would include Hispanics and Asians too. So right around 50% of that youngest group went Trump.
Yeah.
And that is huge. And that was what's driving the minority numbers is actually the younger people, which if we, in our interviews during the election year, Gary, if you had heard me say that the young people are going to turn out in these numbers and 77% of the white males of 18 to 20 are going to vote for Donald Trump, and we're going to get 50% of the black males in that age group voting for Donald Trump, you would not have had me back on the show.
We'd have canceled your contract, Jim.
And nobody would have believed that if we had talked about that.
Yeah, that's
and it certainly wasn't
astonishing numbers.
Yeah. Yes.
I want to. We've got I want to leave the graphic up on the screen here and have you talk for a moment about the 30-year-olds as well. Now, there's a bit of a drop off, but still a majority of 30-year-old white males. 60%. Yes. I mean, more than half, less than 2/3. Pretty big number. And even, again, sort of in the female crowd. I mean, it's split. It's not a majority. Right. It's 50-50.
Yes.
But, I mean, when you're looking at 30 years old and younger, now add 4 years to the 2028 race, and it's 34-year-olds to 22-year-olds. You lock that down with those kinds of margins. No wonder the Democrats are going, holy crap.
Yeah. And this is the base of what could be a realignment. And again, I said, but it's not for sure. It could easily start flipping back. The Democrats are all over this as well. But the Republicans really have to cash in on this. And, we've got some elections we've seen here that haven't gone very well for the Republicans. And there's a couple of reasons for that. So they lose a state Senate seat right after the election in Iowa that was 65% Trump. Then they lose another one here this last week in Pennsylvania, the same type of thing. A district that hadn't voted for a Democrat since Lyndon Johnson in 1964.
Right.
And the Republicans lose a state Senate special election there by 400 votes. And then we have the election coming up in Florida here on Tuesday, where there's a good chance now it looks like they're going to blow a seat that the 538 organization rates as a plus 28 Republican seat.
Right.
And here's really, I think, the key point. The Trump loyalist is not necessarily a Republican loyalist.
Right.
And that's something I think the national Republican establishment does not quite understand.
Yeah, I'd agree. As you look at all of this stuff, I mean, everything on social media, as these judges, Boasberg, all these guys are all making their crazy rulings and stuff, that are against Trump's policy and against MAGA, all you hear are, incoming direct fire results and comments about where's the Republican leadership? Why aren't you trying to unseat these guys? What are you doing? Why don't you realign the way the judiciary works? That's a congressional power. What are you doing? All of these executive orders that Trump has put in that we voted for. We voted for this. I'm going to say a majority because it was 49.9. Close enough for soup. Certainly close enough for government work, if you get my drift. People who voted for Trump voted for all this change. The GOP is being seen as this block or, maybe friendly block, but you're not. What are they doing to advance this? And I got to say, there's not, you go vote for somebody and then the people that support him, legislatively are just kind of like slow walking and meandering their way around and everything. Not good.
Here's the problem with that. Two problems. On the House, the obvious problem is they have a very small majority. And it's very difficult to move things through here. It came in as 220 Republicans, 215 Democrats. Now, that's changed because of these appointments. Trump takes a couple of people out of the House for his administration. This is the reason that Elise Stefanik from New York, they were afraid to lose that seat, which I think they might have. Without her there. And so that was a very positive move to, kind of pull her nomination to keep her in the House.
Right.
It's really 217 now to about 213. We've had a couple of Democratic members have passed away since the Congress was convened. So we're only talking 3 or 4 votes.
Right.
And so when you have to keep everybody in line on everything, it's very, very difficult. So far. And the Senate had a different situation. Now, the Senate, the majority is better, and I think John Thune, the brand new Republican leader, he's not done that before. I think he deserves a lot of credit. He got through every one of Trump's nominees. And so the Senate was really tied up with passing all of the nominees that they have to confirm. And it's a large number. And so, the Senate was tied up doing that, which they had to do.
Right.
So I think we do have to give them some time to get all of this done. The legislative process is slow. It was designed to be that way on purpose. The whole legislative system is designed to form consensus. And we don't have that in this country now. And I always think when people say, oh, Washington is broken, it doesn't work anymore, I disagree with that. I think it's working as it was designed.
Right.
Because it's designed to be hard to pass legislation and to form a consensus. And we don't have that in the country. So I think it accurately reflects right now where the country is. So I don't think it's broken.
Yeah. Well, there is the natives are restless. There's no doubt about that.
They are.
I want to go back to the report.
Elections here. Yeah, go ahead.
So I want to go back. Sorry to cut you off. Just so people know, we aren't rude and stepping on each other, ignoring each other. There's about a 1 second delay in our transmission. So when one person talks or breaks, it's not clear in our ears that that's what's going on. So we're not being rude. Jim's a great friend. Jim, I want to go back to the young people thing here for a second. And in the report where we got those numbers earlier from, there was a bit of an analysis. We're going to put that up for you and read it along. It says the same millennials who helped make left populism cool in the 2010s and marched for a racial reckoning 5 years ago, they are now slouching towards middle age. It was in this article here, Unheard, that writing essentially that hey, the Democrats about to destroy themselves. So and it continued. Meanwhile, the white-haired dissidents at Tesla protests in 2025, they outnumber those too young to rent a car. It's a changing of the guard, but ironically, it's back to the old guard. And then the third paragraph that we thought was worth pointing out and want to get your reaction to: the youth have been missing for so long. This article says it's, again, this is like a Democratic friendly publication. The youth have been missing for so long. It's a wonder that progressives don't print their faces on milk cartons. Where did the kids go when the youth did vote? They leaned Republican. Pretty. That's a pretty stark analysis. I'm not sure where you kind of go from there. That's a big deal.
And again, I just go back to the previous point. The door is open now with these different groups that hadn't been receptive to Republican candidates before. And it's up to the Republicans now to connect with these people and drive home this, why this prosperity agenda in particular is open to them, and that they will succeed with these types of policies versus the more authoritarian economic policies of the Democratic Party. And it's amazing to me right now. I don't think we'd ever have seen the Democrats in this array. They're usually on top of things. They're like, we always say, the Democrats are robots. They will follow their leaders right off that cliff.
Right.
And apparently that's what they're continuing to do. But think about what their main agenda is right now. Protecting illegal criminals illegally in the country, changing men into women, and playing women's sports, and raising taxes. That seems to be the agenda that they want to fall on the proverbial sword for, which to me is astonishing because the Democrats have always been good counters. They usually try to divide the electorate and then side with the group that's larger. And now they're siding with the group that's so infinitesimally small that it just is mind-boggling that they think that this is a winning ticket for them.
So let me go back, Jim. Let me go back to your earlier point. I mean, you're an expert, obviously. I kind of watch this stuff and report on it and everything else, and have done. So I kind of have my finger on the pulse, perhaps better than most people. It just kind of comes along with the territory. You got to, because you got to sit on camera and talk about all the stuff and not be an idiot. But certainly the Republican leadership, Mike Johnson, John Thune, all those people, they all are obviously aware of this. And I think what's kind of, aside from the fact that they're not passing legislation, sure, they were tied up with the congressional, with the cabinet appointments and all that. Yes. But it doesn't seem like, except for sort of the usual suspects of like Jim Jordan and, Ted Cruz, et cetera, that there's not even that much talk. I mean, my Twitter feed, for example, or X feed, is flooded every day with Democrat senators and congressmen, and Trump sucks, and he's authoritarian, and he's fascist, and destroying the country, and arresting you and pulling you off the street. I see and I follow them, I see nowhere near the passion on the GOP, actual official GOP leaders side. They're not standing up, giving these press conferences, or, if they do, it's all this guarded kind of business as usual stuff. It seems like they've sort of missed the boat, or they're not fully plugged into just how pissed off normal Americans are about their normal way of doing business, which is why, Elon Musk has, approval ratings through the roof compared to them, because he just stands up and says, yeah, there's thievery, there's abuse, there's waste, got to end it, da-da-da. It doesn't look like, and skipping the question of passing legislation, it doesn't look like, you don't get the feel when you look at those names that they kind of get it. How in the hell could they not get it when all of this stuff is going on?
Well, that's a good point. But that's kind of typically what's been wrong with Republicans over the years.
It's just like boring country club set. That's what it feels like. Still.
Yeah. Well, this is where they say the deep state is not just among Democrats.
Yeah.
They go along, get along, and they like the establishment, and it favors some of them in particular. But yes, I think you're right. I think there needs to be much better work being done at selling the whole agenda here with what we see being done, which is historic, and it's phenomenal what has been happening here recently and the fast turnarounds we've seen. So I think
it doesn't seem like they really support it. That's how it kind of comes across. They sort of tepidly support it, and maybe we can pull this, move along this little tax savings thing here and lose it in committee for 75 years, and then we'll come out with a 1% change. That's what it feels like. And I think that's what everybody on social media is like to really respond to. I got to say, the passion, aside from the Trump appointees and Hegseth and, J.D. Vance and all of that, aside from that crowd, the GOP leadership doesn't look like they're solidly behind all of this. They don't speak that way. Granted, you can give them a little bit of a bit of a mulligan for the legislative delay for, reasons you already mentioned. But I mean, you can post. Mike Johnson can make a video and say, these Democrats are freaking communists, and we need to do everything we can possibly do to get rid of them and wipe them off the face of the earth. Post. He can do that. He doesn't. None of them do it. None of them do it. All the passion, I'm telling you. I'm watching social media. It's what I do. I'm in that phone. I'm in that accounts. I'm on these social media accounts nonstop every day. The passion right now, even though it's stupid, is on the left. And the GOP leadership, not Trump, not the cabinet, the congressional leadership, they're out to lunch on this. And they're about to get their clocks cleaned, is what it feels like.
Well, that could be. That well could be. And these special elections are showing that taking some of these things for granted that's not the work. I mean, it is. I agree. There needs to definitely be a better media presence, a better sales job on what's going on, and explain to people why what Trump is doing right now is going to help them. And it might not be tomorrow. It takes a while to change all of the damage that's been done here.
Sure.
But we're definitely on the right track. And people think that. We're definitely on the right track now. That right track, wrong track number that we were talking about last year,
right,
it was being so bad, almost everybody thinking the country was on the wrong track. Now, that's not totally back, but it's definitely going in the right direction now. And you're right. They do need to take more advantage of this. And that's part of what I've been talking about. The door is open with some of these disparate groups that haven't supported Republicans before, but there needs to be more of a marketing program to them to get them to understand why it's in their particular interest to support this agenda and this prosperity movement.
Yeah. Let's flip over to the Democrats real quick, because I've got a graphic I want to put up and have you comment on it. It's from Quinnipiac, and it's a survey that shows for the first time ever, congressional Democrats themselves, they have their own problems. Congressional Democrats themselves are underwater with their own voters. Their current net approval rating is a dismal minus 9%. I mean, that's unbelievable. And to that point, the article makes the point that says Democrats are on the verge of a Tea Party style intra-party revolt. And I want to put up this graphic here about that shows this. I mean, look at this number here for a second. It's a self-identity crisis. They're so split, they don't know who they are. It's like a tri-headed schizophrenic. 45% of Democrats want their party to become more moderate. 22% want their party to stay the same, not change at all. And 29% want it to move more to the left. I have no idea what that would look like. I mean, what do you like, start transgendering cats? I mean, I don't know what's left to go more left on. But anyway, those are, I mean, yeah, it's the fact that you have a plurality that want to be more moderate. I mean, when you add up the other side, that's 51% that either want to stay the same or become more liberal. So, I mean, that's a party in complete and total like chaos philosophically. Mm-hmm. They don't know who they are. And, you know, you've got three leaders that kind of represent all of that. I think we have a graphic on that just to help people understand. One is AOC, who would certainly represent the more liberal, let's go crazy thing. You've got Gavin Newsom there, who's probably more representative of the 45% that want to sort of moderate a bit. And then, of course, you have the Chuck Schumer crowd of like, no, everything's kind of cool. We'll just sort of keep doing our thing. Blah, 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 blah. You know, it took a lot of heat for all that. Jim, we got about 2 minutes left here, and I just want to get your view of all of that. Like, where do these guys find peace? Is it enough to just say, we hate Trump, vote for us? It didn't work in November.
Well, that seems to be the one thing they're totally united on, their hatred of Trump. But let's talk about Schumer for a minute. I was astonished by what happened there. The Democrats wanted to shut down the government. Could you imagine a better gift to Donald Trump and Elon Musk than if they had done that?
Yeah.
And they didn't see that? I mean, Schumer was basically saying that. What are you know, we can't shut down the government. They play right into Trump's hands.
Right.
And it was just astonishing to me that it was taking this much flack for supporting the budget resolution to keep the government open.
Yeah, they pilloried him. Pilloried him.
Yeah, they really did. And I said, what, they really wanted to have the government shut down and put that on a silver platter to Donald Trump and Elon Musk? They would have loved that.
Sure.
They would have made their job a lot easier in trying to clean out that terrible bureaucracy, which, as we're now seeing, I mean, we all knew it was corrupt before. We all knew there was a lot of kickbacks and waste. It's way worse than we thought. Yeah. Way worse than we thought. Yeah. And that would have given Trump and Musk a great opportunity. And I was surprised that so few Democrats actually saw what they were even headed toward doing.
They are blinded. 51% says stay the same, which of course means transgender everything and, you know, guys and women's bathrooms and all of that and everything, or go even further. Right. Half the party wants that. Over half the party wants that. That's a big deal. And you know, it's TDS, man. It's Trump derangement syndrome. They can't see past their hatred of Trump. It's blinding them, and it's. I don't know. Jim, final thought. You got 30 seconds. Wrap us up. Bring us home, man.
Well, this is a historic opportunity right now. We're living in a tremendous political time in terms of what we may be seeing as fundamental change that happens about every 50 years. And it's up to the Republicans to drive it home. Now, I think they've missed the boat on some of these special elections. They may miss the boat again on Tuesday, which is going to be a political disaster to lose a safe seat like that. But so we'll see what happens. But they've got to get the ship back on track, as we were talking about, message-wise, and take great advantage of the biggest opportunity politically, I think, of our generation.
Yeah. I'm nervous that the GOP leadership even understands that right now, much less has the, shall we say, the intestinal fortitude to go ahead and do it. We'll see. Jim Ellis, as always, from Ellis Insights. Everybody, let me say, you got to follow Jim Ellis. Go to Ellis Insights. The guy is great. You might even say he has tremendous Ellis insights. All right. That's very much. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. Souls and Liberty.
Thank you,
we are about anchoring liberty in eternal truth. And that truth is natural law. Coming in from Houston, Texas, I'm Gary Michael Voris. God love you.